It's October, and the students of London College of Fashion's BA Honours degree in Fashion Design and Realisation are starting their final year. Through the course of the 4-year flexible learning programme, which is designed to fit around their careers and other commitments, they've learnt strong graphics and research skills, and they've gained an understanding of the practical and aesthetic sides of a career in the industry. Now they're about to start their final major project, a portfolio of garments and written work which will be their launchpad into the fashion business.
Cut on the bias.
My name is Mihaela, and I'm communism.
My name is Christina, and I am storytelling.
My name is Beverly, and I am transformation.
My name is Paulina, and I am reinvention.
My name is Mariam, and I'm shaped by war.
My name is Radana. I am urban myth.
My name is Katie, and I am dystopia.
It's going to be a long year of conceptualising, testing, tweaking and making. Each of the students is taking a different visual approach to the design elements of the pieces that will end up in their collection, experimenting with different ideas to get there.
For our final hand-in for the degree, we have a project proposal and a workbook, and the project proposal element is all about the research, building up a concept. My concept is dystopia. Some really powerful images that I developed were shadows of fireworks, so trying to capture the tail end of the smoke from the fireworks and then recolouring them in Photoshop. And I've been able to use some of these images as prints in my final collection. I found a good way of moving forward was to take a suit jacket, so a classic symbol of conformity in our world, and to do lots of draping on the stand with it, so turning it upside down, removing the arms, all this kind of thing.
And for some, it's intimate personal experiences that drive their creativity.
Why did you choose war?
Because I have a personal connection with this, where I've come from. I've come from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
It wasn't the core of war. I've seen it, I've lived it, and
I thought that might be why you've chosen it. So no, that's a good reason to choose it. It's a good way of you dealing with it as well.
This is the images of my old flat. I took the pictures last year. I was back home. It was actually left for years.
Yes. That's good. These are nice.
These are some of my own images of
really nice.
around with smoke.
Yeah. It's quite a nice use of it.
The concept is about communism because I come from a communist background. I've translated this into the fashion world through prints, through design development. I've looked into surveillance and hiding, lack and absence, type of surveillance, biometric surveillance, types of punishment and torture. These were my initial silhouettes.
At the same time as working out their designs and patterns, the students have to consider the silhouettes, helped by Leonora Egginton, final year pattern cutting tutor, and Jessica Saunders, course leader for the BA in Fashion Design and Realisation.
Unless you had some kind of seeming detail there, and then you were able to cut this on the bias, but double it so it kind of rolls.
The difference between having a good idea and making a successful piece is tricky to find, as the students discover.
Which actually works really, really well, and that's much more exciting than your toile. And if I were you, I would work with this, because this is much more contemporary.
They also have to think about who their audience is and who's going to buy the end result.
And this is another possibility.
You're going to have to be really, really careful on the proportions of these areas, because you're kind of really emphasising the areas that most women are conscious of. Is your backside too big to expose? Here you're kind of exposing the tummy area, and they're the two key areas that most women are going to be like, oh, I don't want to be showing that off, and actually you're making a real feature of it.
So essentially you're going out in a pair of hot pants or a pair of pants.
And then that would kind of lead you who's your customer and how old is she? because to me that would be somebody who's
Really
going to
young.
be quite young.
So perhaps do something else.
Yeah, there's plenty you can do. It's just a matter of looking and thinking and working and trying and experimenting.
I think when you look at your work, some of your images are great. I just don't think you've done enough of the sort of the 3D experimentation. What you've done is it's come from your head, but actually you need to work with some of the images.
So let's have 2 12s next week. Let's have a reinterpretation of this in the proportions that you've got there. And let's have an interpretation of this. And then go from there. And bring some pleating.
Okay. Okay.
I'm exhausted, Mariam. You've worn me out.
To bring the reality into fashion realisation, the students have a session with designer and show producer Deborah Britz, who will help them make sure they create pieces that stand up to criticism.
My big bugbear is lots of different hemlines. I've mentioned that to a couple of you already. I hate it when someone's making 4 garments and one is a mini and one stops just above the knee and the other one is somewhere vaguely in the mid-calf area. And I think there's nothing worse than that, because I end up looking at that almost like a graph, rather than looking at the individual garments. And I want, if you iron out those little details, you look at the collection and then you start analysing each garment, and that's what you want people to do. You want them to look and see the details that you've put in, not the accidents that you've allowed to stay.
Deborah, who has worked worldwide with renowned designers such as Vivienne Westwood and high street brands like Marks & Spencer, delves into some practical considerations that the students might not have thought about.
So if you laser cut into that sort of colour and then put my skin under it, it's not going to look great. If you get black skin under it, it would look fabulous.
You're right.
So that would change it as well. So if you're laser cutting into a charcoal leather and then put pale skin behind, again, you're going to get something that looks fabulous.
But in some cases, like for Katie, happy accidents are a part of the process.
Very messy toile was a top. When I made the pattern for it, it quite obligingly makes all sorts of pleasant shapes.
I love that. That's fantastic.
I've got a few pieces that I've really just started to work on, so now I've got some good ideas of how to extend those, take them further.
To give the students some perspective, their work in progress is exhibited in a public showcase called the Eye Critique. Invited are staff and students from the London College of Fashion, plus invited industry guests, friends and family.
The Eye Critique was set up for final students to have a really interesting alternative view of their work in progress. So they've had to set it up in an exhibition space, and it gives them a chance to step back and look at it in a completely different context and maybe make a few decisions about what to take forward and maybe what to leave behind. It also gives people who've never seen the work before a chance to look at it and comment, and then we get their comments, and they have no background knowledge of what it is, they're just reacting to what they see. So you do get some very interesting ideas and thoughts that perhaps we as tutors or the students themselves hadn't really thought of.
I think it's something that I would also like when I do go into my 4th year, because it's always good to see a fresh perspective.
With graphics and prints developed, progress is being made, and it's time for the students to work towards prototyping their garments. Jessica Saunders is still on hand to guide them in the right direction and help iron out any problems.
But this is a bit more challenging and more now, I think.
It's very challenging.
Yeah.
It is.
But it's good. That's what you need.
It is.
You need a challenge.
You've got 2 primary colours, so...
Yeah, and you've made it work there, so...
Thanks.
The reason that this has a nice 3D element to it is because it's small and it's being pulled out a bit. As soon as you extend these and make them bigger, it just goes flat because there's nothing
flappy.
Yes, there's nothing sort of pulling it into that 3D shape.
Any relevance here?
No.
Now?
No.
No?
No.
So we have a dress.
Yes. Yes.
Will one be having more in one dress?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
You're doing 3, aren't you?
Yeah.
But I think you should design 6, but you make 3.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you must think in terms of range. Is it all fading? Is there more that where this is coming down? Is it all going to dribble down? Is it how's the... So before you go anywhere, that needs to go beyond an A3 page.
Absolutely.
The part-time course is spread over 4 years. Soon enough, it's the end of the first term. Handing in the formative submission means that the finish is nearly in sight.
Today is end of this term, and we are handing in our formative assessment. So for that we need to have our lineup and also one garment and 12 professionally done.
Develop the necklines because they are all a little bit similar.
Yeah.
See, what's quite clever about this is I know you've done it in Photoshop, so the stripe goes right the way across.
It can.
Can you engineer your pattern
yes.
so that it's...
Well, and I can engineer the
Because that
print.
would be great if you engineer the print.
The students should have one completed garment each for Jessica and Leonora to review. But in some cases, there are still problems that need working out.
And just putting a print on, print isn't going to solve your kind of pattern cutting issues.
When you think about your concept and what it's about and all the imagery that you've got, this is kind of really out of place.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
But try lots of different finishes on this. How do you feel, Christina? Do you feel like you are kind of getting there?
Yeah, I think it's just understanding the translation between what you draw and what you produce.
What you must do, and it's the same thing, everybody does it, it's that kind of thing where you've drawn something, you've designed something, you've even twirled it, essentially, and then you make something different. So it's there, and the information is there. So what you need to do is be able to translate that.
The BA in Fashion Design and Realisation isn't just about the end product, it's also about helping the students find their own professional method.
It's almost like you need to just create on the stand and then draw what you're creating. And so you're communicating it back. Most people work this way. Some people can't because what they're putting down on paper and what they're getting out the other end isn't what they want to. But ultimately, design realisation is about realising your ideas. But the way you communicate them is crucial.
I think that you always have a conflict between how you imagine something and how you want something to look, and it being a clever, complex enough pattern that you feel it's worthy. And very often you have an idea of how something will look, but you don't feel that it's worthy because the pattern is not clever enough, and then it ends up being something different. And I think there's probably something in accepting that for the majority of people looking at it, it's aesthetically what it looks like rather than it being a clever pattern.
It's mid-March. The students are making progress, but not quickly enough. They should be much further along if they're to complete their projects on time. It's up to Jessica to give them a reality check.
We had a deadline last week, and we all have a nice time and it's all great, but actually we put these deadlines in for a reason. And really we should be at the point now where you are manufacturing your final collection. We've experimented like crazy, the research is there, you are pretty much on track in terms of, you've all got something good going on. You're just not going to do yourselves justice. You've spent 4 years here. You want to finish with a bang. You don't want to finish with, oh my God, well, I just about managed to throw it together because I left it all a bit late.
The pressure is mounting on the students to make their designs into a finished product. It's April and time to fit the garments with the help of fit model Lauren. Seeing their prototypes brought to life will expose even more issues and realities that must be dealt with before final submission. Debate continues about some garments, with more amendments to be made if they're to meet the tutor's expectations.
These are the outfits that I've actually made. This is a back opening coat, which you can step out from.
That doesn't offend me as much as this, because this makes it really look like an afterthought.
Especially compared to the print.
Still, have you got any more fabric? I mean, I know it's quite a bit of work. No, I think once you get rid of that extra there, that's what's really bothering me, because it just looks like you've stuck a zip in.
Can I just check with you on the pattern exactly how you do it?
Who's ready to put clothes on next?
You just draw a line there.
Cut on the bias.
By the time they finish, the students on the part-time course will have been working for 4 years. All the students are at different stages of completion with their work. There's only 3 weeks left to go, so it's time to finalise the garments ready for submission. Last-minute complications aren't making anybody's life easier.
That information needs to be on here, because then when you make it, or someone else makes it for you, you get what you want. You don't get a version of it because they don't have all the information.
It's the last push, so it's really difficult because the level of stress is really, really high.
If that was intentional, I haven't got a problem with that.
So at this point in time, I'm actually behind.
Would you buy it like that?
It will be stressful, you know it. It's just when it hits, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I've nearly finished one dress, so the others are trialled, so I've got to make them now, basically.
You think that you're being more organised than normal, and more organised than normal isn't really sufficient.
They need to link as a collection more than just the print.
I'm not in the kind of mood to talk today, sorry.
I'm mainly feeling tired. I have lots left to do, and we have 3 weeks left.
It's been a long way, it's been really, really exciting, and it's been really, really hard work.
So yeah, just keep sewing. Sewing.
The students are on the home stretch. With different combinations of finished garments and written work to hand in, they're working all hours to bring everything together on time. The end is in sight, but everything has to be spot on, because once it's in, there'll be no chance to change. June the 2nd, and it's hand-in day. 4 years of hard study is soon to come to an end with a signature on a piece of paper.
That one. Oh, my final. The last sheet. 4 years.
But so rewarding. And now I'm gonna have a drink, get some sleep, and enjoy the sun.
2 bags, there's 6 garments in total, 2 portfolios, and I'll leave a portfolio of all my flight work, all my patterns.
We've done it.
That's it. I've just handed in, feels great, life goes on, and I'm looking forward to it.
Fill this in.
I'm gonna go home and have a glass of champagne.
I slept for 2 days, haven't eaten.
For some, the race to the finish didn't happen quite as they planned.
This belt was done in the last minute. Yesterday, I cried over it because the print was done wrong. I left it till the end, but then when I got the prints, it was red. So I was like, this is wrong, I don't have anything red in my collection. And she was like, yeah, mistakes happen, it's human error, that's why you shouldn't leave things to the last minute. But now the colors are perfect and I'm happy with it.
How are you right now?
Hungry, thirsty, sleepy, happy.
Yes, it is hard work, isn't it?
But the degree is at an end, and with everything handed in, all the students can do is sit back and wait for their results.
It is hard, but it's really worth it, and they do very well in the end.
Cut.
With the course over, the students can relax, but there's no such luck for the clothes. This year, their work will be showcased in an exclusive fashion film, which you can find by looking for Knockout from the London College of Fashion online.